further. Not only was he the big dog, but he was bow, wow, wow. So I hope when I'm here the next time I get to run into this guy, Scott, because he sounds like an interesting man. So, you know, we used to sing a song, just a brief little thing about how bad we were in the old days. Like, I used to love men and take all the chances. I've met the best and the worst, but now I'm a lady and I see their pedigree first. Well, that's okay, and I have to remember that those are the old days, because now the man that has provided me with so many nice things, like all this stuff, and he the other day he brought home a thing called a Bose, and on this Bose thing you can put in a little round thing in the slot, and pretty soon you've got Sinatra and Peggy Lee and Sarah Vaughan and the whole thing. So he's always thinking up nice things like that to bring home to me. So I've got to be careful, because I know I've got a good thing and I don't want to mess up again. So I've just got to mind my P's and Q's. In fact, I need to look at my sheet here to see what my P's and Q's are. Oh yeah, there was, yeah, he wants me to be home, when he comes home. He wants me to have cold martinis, he wants me to have tasty little things to nibble on and things like that. And that's okay, I can do all that. And the thing is that when it comes right down to it, I have to remember that you just got to be careful, that's all. I forgot, you know, he wants me to sing something every now and then. What is this thing? Oh, I know he wants me to sing. After I get everything ready, then he wants me to sing this song about, to show that I'm not going to step in the wrong groove again. So it's like, goes like this. If some good scout invites me out for finding Finn and Hattie, what comes next? Finn and Hattie. I just adore his asking for more, but my heart belongs to Daddy. And if tearing off a game of golf, I may make a play for the caddy, but if I do, I don't follow through, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. Oh, my heart belongs to Daddy, Daddy. So just listen to me, laddie, though I think you're simply swell, my heart belongs to Daddy, 'cause my daddy, he treats me so well. Now I've got to get...
Thank you very much, Laverne.
How do I get out of here? I'll
You
try this way.
Those of you who were at the show last year will remember Laverne had a terrific outfit on, and she imitated being a queen bee, and that was quite something. Now let's see what we've got next here. Let's see. Not only do we have talent among the residents here, but we also have talent among the executives and the top people at the outfit here. You recall Harry Hobson having a part in Don's last 3 shows, and then you all listened occasionally to Jim Myers when he does his stuff on the piano, and and now we've got Becky and Paul Muskowski, and you may have heard them before. They're terrific. So let's hear from Becky and Paul, who will tell us all about I Told You So. Becky, Paul.
Bear with us just a minute while we get it set up here. This is a song that was made famous first and written by Randy Travis, and it was recently redone by Carrie Underwood. So it's called I Told You So. And I hope you like it. Suppose I called you up tonight and told you that I loved you. And suppose I said I want to come back home. And suppose I cried and said I think I finally learned my lesson. And I'm tired of spending all my time alone. If I told you that I realized you're all I ever wanted, and it's killing me to be so far away, would you tell me that you loved me too, and would we cry together? Or would you simply laugh at me and say, I told you so? Oh, I told you so. I told you someday you'd come crawling back and asking me to take you in. I told you so, but you had to go. Now I found somebody new, and you will never break my heart in two again. If I told you that I realized you're all I ever wanted, and it's killing me to be so far away, would we get that old time feeling? Would we laugh and talk for hours, the way we did when our love first began? Would you tell me that you missed me too, and that you've been so lonely, and it's killing me to be so far away? and we'd live and love forever, and that I'm your one and only? Or would you simply laugh at me and say, I told you so? Oh, I told you so. I told you someday you'd come crawling back and asking me to take you in. I told you so, but you had to go. Now I found somebody new, and you will never break my heart in two again. Now I found somebody new, and you will never break my heart in two again.
See, I told you our executives have talent. That's why Becky is a vice president of Plymouth Harbor. All right. Now, a bit of humor at the worst from Joanne Hastings. Her favorite vegetable is corn. Take your time getting up there, Joanne.
Well, rather than be a stand-up comedian, I thought I'd sit down on this eastwood chair with this pillow in the back. Well, this is kind of a mixture of a lot of amusing bit of chatter here and there. It's not meant to be a rat pack type of thing. It is really just hopefully comical. And, well, first of all, I'm sure that many of you who have lived in New York or not have been familiar with the Algonquin Luncheon Group. Now, they were classic, probably 20s and 30s, and even in the 40s. And that group would meet once a week. They were all brilliant, sophisticated writers. Now, for example, Dorothy Parker, Kaufman, and Robert Benchley, and even more. Well, they would meet, and the most amusing, you can imagine, batter. They would go back and forth at this, these luncheons. Well, for example, Benchley, who wrote for the New Yorker magazine. Well, one time he was sent to Europe for the first time. And in his travels, he arrived in Venice. Well, he immediately sent a telegram to his boss saying, "Streets underwater, please advise." But, well, I'm going to have to read a lot of these because they're complicated, maybe. Well, yeah, they're good. No, that's not part of it. Okay. Yeah, that's good. me get good. But have you ever wondered whatever happened to the rest of the Berlin Wall? I mean, part of it's still there, I believe, but I have an idea where it can be used. Right out front, for example, here, if that wall was established east side on the west side of our front entrance, you might have a lot to help for the wind situation. However, all is not lost because the ladies take heed. We all go to the beauty salons, I'm sure, and in a very popular method of beautification for ladies' hair is called a blow dry. Well, now that brings up a point because we have, I mean, if the ladies would wet their hair with a shower and then take a chair, go out front, the wind would finish the hairdo with the blow dry. So that's one way to save a few dollars. Well, this little bit is actually real. I was in Naples recently. My sister lives in a place very similar to ours right here. But I learned something there that seems strange. Have you ever heard, but it happens there at it's called the Bay View. Anyway, of ordering a half a glass of wine and paying only for a half a glass. Now how can that happen? A glass of wine in any glass never is filled to the top anyway, so it's half. But there you can order even another half and then be charged just for, boggles the mind. The bartender would go mad. What they have to do, get a slide rule out or a measure or whatever. Let's see, first you have your regular half a glass. Well, no. And now, and this is true, they sell it even another half. Well, anyway, enough of that, but that boggles the mind. Well, let's see. Let's take, for example, a Swiss Army knife. Now, I've been many airports used to, I've lost half a dozen airports, but you were not allowed even a Swiss Army knife to go on the plane. Now, I understand the pictures change. You can do that. But the reason for mentioning a knife like that is strictly because many times I've had to take out orders, food, take up, and some of the containers, I must admit, are pretty tough to open. In fact, I don't think I have any more fingernails for that. But with the advent of the Swiss Army knife or any knife, we could, it can happen, but I must admit, they're pretty tough, at least for me, to open a lot of the food containers, not the soup or the whatever. Well, another thing, here in this lovely theater, if one comes too late, the show is started, movie or whatever, I think really you might need a miner's cap because it really gets pitch black, dark. And the only problem is you're never quite sure whose lap you're going to sit on. But anyway, that's another story. How is it? I'm just questioning. These are all my own ideas and suggestions and questions. For example, how did Bird Key rate so much to have a traffic light? I mean, who do they know? Do those birds there chirp louder or what? That is, I think, maybe I'm wrong, the only traffic light there, and no more, even when you get all the way up the circle. There's no traffic light. Well, that's just food for thought. And, or maybe they know somebody, like the mayor or somebody. Anyway,
Thank you, Joan. That was terrific.
I'm not busy.
Well,
I'm just reading, I'm trying to read my own writing. Okay, well, there is a new drink to be offered at the bar, and it's called Vino Van Gogh. Now that's strictly for artists only, because Vincent, I'm sure, loved it. Or if you drink too many of the Vino Van Goghs, you might be seeing a starry night. A couple more, if I have.
no, we're running out of time,
Okay.
Joan. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bill Brackett now steps forward to give us a stirring monologue, a tribute to a great human being. Bill was last seen on the stage here as the defense attorney in Don's play, The Bride on the 17th Floor. Bill, take it away.
The following presentation was written and directed by Ann Brackett. It is a true story. We all know the forever stamps with the American flag, our flag that declares liberty, freedom, equality, and justice. In March and April, they remind us especially of Selma, Washington, and Memphis, times when there was no liberty, freedom, equality, or justice for all. It was on Sunday, March 5th, 1965, when 500 civil rights marchers followed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as he walked toward Montgomery, Alabama, to call for voting rights which had been denied to Black Americans in Selma. At the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Alabama Governor George Wallace and his state troopers met these peaceful marchers with billy clubs, tear gas, dogs, and even electric cattle prods. That march became called Bloody Sunday. Just 3 weeks later, 25,000 people joined for that march to Montgomery to claim that integration, not segregation, was the value of choice. 3 years later, in Memphis, Tennessee, Dr. King was assassinated. George Wallace, who led Bloody Sunday, was a national symbol of American racism. that had grown out of over 200 years of slavery, followed by 100 years of prejudice and Jim Crow laws that many said were far more difficult than slavery. His declared way of life was based on hatred, fear, and complete subjugation of black Americans by white Americans. Wallace had proclaimed at his inauguration as Alabama's governor in 1963, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. 6 months later, he blocked the doors of the University of Alabama to prevent any integration. In 2013, a CBS interview of Governor Wallace's daughter Peggy, who had been a very young teenager during her father's term of office, said, "You know, the problems and the challenges that came with being the daughter of the governor who had stood at that schoolhouse door to block the two African Americans from going to school was very, very difficult." Asked whether she thought her father's positions were wrong when she was young, Peggy said, "My mother kept us very, very sheltered, and so there were a lot of things that we didn't know about." Later, Peggy Wallace married and raised 2 sons in Alabama. She rarely spoke of her father until America elected its first African American president in 2008. She said, "All of a sudden, I found my voice. I did have to do something with my voice." She started at the Edmund Prentice Bridge, the place where 48 years ago her father had first blocked King. Congressman John Lewis had been badly beaten that day in 1965, but had survived. And therefore, every year since 2009, Peggy Wallace has walked hand in hand with Lewis over the Edmund Prentice Bridge to mark the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. She told Lewis, "I've crossed many bridges in my life, and I will cross many, many more. But there is one important bridge which I will ever cross, is this one that I cross with you." I've received a lot of criticism, a lot of hurtful criticism, Peggy Wallace said, but I just moved on. And I would like my children not to remember where my father stood, but where I am standing now. Peggy Wallace is seeking a legacy of tolerance and inclusion in place of bigotry. So now, let's remember just what it was that Dr. King said to over 250,000 people at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial just 5 months after Bloody Sunday. A few of his words. "It was 5 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious races and with its governor having on his lips dripping with words of interposition and nullification, will be transformed into a situation where black boys and girls will be able to join hands with white boys and girls together as brothers and sisters." My friends, may we always remember what the forever stamps tell us, that there be liberty and freedom and equality and justice for all, today, tomorrow, and forever. Amen.
Bill, that was very eloquently delivered. Thank you very much. Now, is Rosemary Greenbaum here?